In this lesson, we're going to be giving the flowers rotation as they rise and fall. Okay, so if I scrub forward here, remember how we created that little animation up and down for our flowers. But probably if something got hit like this, especially the fact that it's getting hit from the left side, it's going to begin to rotate left a little bit. So what I want to do is also bring up the rotation for that flower mark layer. So I'll hold Shift and hit the R key, and we'll go ahead and set a keyframe for rotation right there in the beginning. Then by the time we get back to the middle, let's say we've rotated just about like that, about -20 degrees. Okay, so make sure that's lining up with your other keys. There we go. And then as it comes back down, in fact, we may want to put this a little bit further forward. Let's see how that looks. There we go. So now it's kind of rotating all the way through. So we're just pulling that keyframe to that last frame where we have our keys looks a little bit better. And now what I want to do is actually cause this to kind of wobble a little bit. And this is going to require a little bit of some help here, because if you recall, our anchor point is in the middle, but we've already done all of this other animation. So I think what we can do is fix this using our position that we've added, and just simply selecting our layer, hitting the U key to make sure we've got all those keys pulled up, and our X position doesn't change over time, so we can turn that off. We really just want to focus on the Y position. And so we need to move our anchor point down, because when we rotate this, I don't want it to rotate in the middle. I want it to rotate from the bottom, where it would almost look like it's on a shelf. Okay, so I'm going to grab these keys, select them, hit Control X to cut them. All right, and then I'm also going to turn off the rotation for a moment. We'll grab our flower mark and move our anchor point down to the bottom. Okay, now on this same spot here, I'm going to select my Y position and I'll hit Control V. Now it's going to move this up, but that is okay, because what I want is for this to look like it's in the middle at the beginning, and not that it ends up this high. And this is easy to fix. So what I'll do is just make sure my current time indicator is on one of these keys. Then I'll come over to my Y position, making sure all of them are highlighted, and I can move them all at the same time. So I want it to end up probably right about there. So then I can just click away, and you can see that now that's back in place, but we've also been able to move our anchor point without destroying our animation. Okay, so now let's get to rotating. I'll go ahead again, set a rotation key, move to the last keyframe, and remember that was at -20. And now we've got this really nice rotation that's happening from the bottom of our plant instead of the middle. Now we can add a little bit of that back and forth sort of follow through, almost follow through type of motion, where the flowers are kind of rocking back and forth until they're back in place. So let's move forward 5 frames and cut this -20 in half. So that would be 10. And you can see it's going to rotate back the other way. So it's going to rotate that way, then this way. Then let's go back 5 more frames. And then we'll cut the 10 in half. Now, if I only take this to a 5, it's going to be a +5. So it's only going to go back a little bit. But I want it to be a -5. So I'll change that to -5. And you'll see how now it's going to go farther back over to the left. So I'm basically alternating back and forth between having negative and positive numbers, and then cutting them in half each time. So we're at -20, +10, -5. We'll go forward 5 more frames. And we'll do a +2.5, 5 more frames. And we'll do a -1.25. And then we'll go forward 5 more frames and zero it out. So it's back to normal. And then let's go ahead and with all of those keys selected, we'll go up to Animation, Keyframe Assistant, and Easy Ease them. Now let's watch this. So I'll hit the 0 key and we can watch a quick frame preview. Beautiful. So we get this really nice little rotation and rock motion. Now, one of the things I'm noticing is that if our flowers were swaying around here at the beginning from the wind, we know that they can move. Now, this might be good enough for some of you, but I want a little bit more. I want for those flowers to move while this has been shot up into the air. So what we would want to do is actually go into our flower mark and mess around with those rotation values. Now, if you remember, they're controlled by a wiggle expression, so it's going to be a little bit challenging, but there's definitely a way we can achieve this and then have even more control over the variability of that wiggle over time. So let's come back in the next lesson and we're going to be adding sliders to our wiggle expression to control the individual flower rotations over time and really bring this little pop and fall to life.